I had videos of me like naked, pissing. I had videos of me falling 40 feet out of trees and just being insane because I was like, well, this is what I want to show people. I don't want to just give them my music. I want to be like, I can sing, I can twerk, I can do the splits, like I can do all this crazy shit. Like this, I wanted to throw the entire box of Cracker Jacks at my audience so that people would just be like, this guy is awesome. He needs to be known, you know. I wanted to overwhelm people and just be like, you know, holy, he does this, he does this, he does this. That's nuts. I mean, this guy is awesome.
A lot of people would say I'm antisocial. I have a predisposition to hate everybody, I guess.
Music saved my life. Like, I used to be an alcoholic, and like I learned guitar to get off the drink, and since then I've been a busket and I've never looked back.
I'm Gav, and I run the internet music project Merc and it's basically me alone in a studio, a tiny little box. This is actually the studio, and I make songs and I put them on the internet and I sell them that way.
I had a very successful school career, which I decided I wanted to chuck in the bin when punk came along.
Whenever you're in a band and you have multiple guys sitting there, it's equally as gifted as it is frustrating, because you have multiple levels of influence, so you have more of a broader range in which to paint your musical palette on. But at the same time, egos tend to get in the way.
I've always been in bands from the age of about 13 or 14, rehearsing in your mum's house while they went away shopping on a Saturday afternoon, and playing little gigs wherever people would have you.
The reason I chose to do everything myself was because of that experience being in other bands and having the idea in my head but not being able to, I guess you could say, find the people who shared the determination or the drive.
We ended up getting into battles, not only with each other, but with the record company.
The biggest thing that always bothered me was I heard so many stories, you know, and I've never experienced the whole like music industry like totally fucking you over. I've never experienced it myself, but I've heard so many stories, you know. Some of my favorite bands, like, they made an album and like the contract was just totally like conniving, and they lost the rights to every single one of those songs, and I'm like, I'm never going to be that guy. Like, I don't even want to take that risk.
And when the record company pays your bills, the record company makes the decision. So I think some wrong decisions over releases were made that would have probably made the difference.
I'm not a fan of record labels and the music industry myself. I feel like there's very little focus on art, there's very little focus on the musicians, and I think it's, I understand business is all about making money, but in the last 10-15 years particularly, it's really come at the expense of creating a product that's actually good and that is original, or that expresses some actual emotions and feelings.
When the world is on your shoulders, stay. Don't fade away.
And I feel that because of piracy and the internet, it's become harder and harder for the labels to make money. So now they just find it much easier to package a product and sell kind of peripherals around an artist than to sell their actual music.
We were sort of scouted, and we were very close to having a record label, but it turned out to be like false promises and kind of like a way to try and get money out of you. Luckily I didn't have any money to give them, but other band members kind of fell victim to that, and we're scammed a little bit.
YouTube is an industry in itself. You know, it's almost like the music industry is like little brother. You know, like they have their own algorithms, and if a video is doing well, and if the video is what everybody wants to see, they push it more, and then more people get to see it, and then it gets pushed more, and it's even harder because it's like even for that you have to have a cookie cutter format. You know, if people just want to see you with decent lighting and a upward camera angle and just you talking with jump cuts about the top 10 this or top 10 that or whatever, that's what they want to see. If you're doing something else, it's not going to do that well because it's not part of the formula. So it's still just as difficult.
I think that the music industry is certainly changing, and it's hard for an artist to read the future.
For one, I'm an artist, you know.
Never to desert you.
I'm an entertainer.
Come join my pleasant collection of tales.
I'm a performer.
It's the illness upon my heart.
I'm not a producer, you know, I'm not a media fucking angler. We're gonna call it a media angler because that sounds badass. I'm not a promotional whatever, you know, I don't know how to put myself out there. So I'm like, I chose YouTube because hey, I can take somebody else's song and I can sing over it, and people like my voice, people like what I do, so it gets views, and then I direct them towards my music, and I can distribute my music all over, you know, all these other digital distribution services. And that's really the only way that you can get yourself out there. At first is through covers, and then once you start getting a following, you move into, you know, people start to actually like your stuff, and then YouTube's algorithm starts to push your stuff. You know, like if somebody looks up progressive metal, like they might stumble upon your work if you're progressive metal and enough people like it. So it's all like, what's the word? It's like trickle down economics, you know, like you did this and it trickles to this and it trickles to that, and like, you know, say your video got 10,000 views, you know, 1,000 of those people might go to your channel and watch your music, and like 100 of those people might actually like it, and then like 10 of those people might actually buy your album. So it's like, whoa, awesome. You know, it's just trickles and trickles and gets smaller and smaller, but that's 10 more people than you had before.
I think the people who take the independent route will find a way to commercialize that area, and what we know to be commercial will then switch.
Well, I think with the internet these days and the avenues that it opens up for artists, I think it's great because people like me can stay independent and can make a living from doing it. It's just finding the right niche, I think, which is a very difficult thing to do, and I think you have to be a little bit lucky to find the right niche. But I do see it happening more and more, that like new artists are making a living just solely through the internet without having to go through the charts and the music industry and all that.
It's difficult, that's for sure, doing everything on your own.
It's freed me up a lot more to do whatever style of music I want. I always remember if anyone who's heard my stuff knows I like to do a lot of different kind of genres.
Cheap smoke rising like a spirit in the soft glow of a New York street. Amid the cracks in mirrors, the glow is growing dimmer. Need some breathing space. I can't keep living straight.
Like, I don't like sticking with one style, and record labels really don't like that. They like being able to know who they're going to sell you to, and they like to know which audience and which demographic they can sell your music to. And if you're constantly changing your genre and style, they just don't know what to do with you. So for me, it was very freeing to just make whatever the hell I want and not have to worry about if someone's going to be like, no, you can't put that on your album.
There was a band in London called Soul to Soul, and they were our studio band, basically. And so the music ended up sounding kind of funkier, soulier, and the record company didn't quite know where to place us.
The attention span of the public is getting shorter, and it's becoming a lot easier for an artist to write and create and do everything, you know, in their home studio rather than having to pay the $10,000 to $15,000 recording fees at a major studio to utilize their equipment.
You know, I'm a control freak. So that being said, the second reason was because when I look at the music industry personally, I see an industry, you know, it's a business. It's trying to turn you into a product that they can sell to the average person. So that being said, you need to be able to mold yourself a certain way so that the average person thinks that you are appealing. So the music industry's job is to take your raw talent and cookie cut you so that all the extra shit gets thrown away, even though that's edible too, you know, but it gets thrown away and they just have this perfect little cookie cutter and they're like, this is what people want. This is what we're going to give them. We're going to make tons of money and you're going to be famous and it's going to be great. I do not want that.
The world's changed so much. My record deal was, they said, we'll give you £250,000 over 3 years and we'll leave you alone and you can go away and write some songs and when you're ready we'll put your record out.
Cold cash money is essential. It's a way to make the grade potentially explosive.
And that would just never happen nowadays.
It's kind of like what Casey Neistat said. If somebody edits Casey Neistat's videos, then it stops becoming Casey Neistat. It starts becoming him as merely an actor and somebody else choosing how the scene is portrayed.
I don't want to sell out, you know. I don't want to just do something to get someone to give me views. I want the stuff that I'm passionate about to get views. So it makes it a challenge because it's like, how can I put myself and my work out there and still get people to look at it and appreciate it and buy it, but without trying to alter a cookie cut. Like, I just want to take the whole cookie mix, flatten it around, and slap it on the fucking cookie tray and be like, put it in the oven. Have one giant blob. And a lot of people, they don't like the blob, you know?
Personally, I wanted to be famous. So I wanted all the money they would chuck at me. I liked going to the stylist before the photo shoot and being limoed to the venue. I was quite happy with that. So I'm unashamed populist, but that's what split us up because the other guy didn't want to be like that. He wanted to be indie.
I don't want to be a tool, you know. I don't care about getting famous or making money. I just want to make art, and by doing it myself, I have full control of that. It's like having a studio and painting a picture and just hanging it up for the world to see, and nobody gets to say anything.
I don't know if you're familiar with a painter named Bob Ross. He was a painter in the 80s here in America, and I was watching a video of him painting, and he said that somebody asked him what did it feel like whenever he was happy with, you know, the first painting that he was thoroughly happy with, and he told them that he's never painted a painting he's thoroughly happy with, and he thinks that's the importance of being artistic. You should never do anything that you're completely satisfied with.
I don't want other people's opinions, and you know, you're gonna get them regardless. You know, everyone's going to give you their opinion, but I don't want their opinion. I don't want them to tell me that my music is remarkable or marvelous or amazing. I don't want them to be like, oh, dude, your music changed my life. Oh, you know, or, you know, well, it was okay. You know, yeah, I didn't like it, but I didn't not like it. Or, you know, yeah, he's good at what he does, but it's not my cup of tea. I don't care about that. And I don't want to hear, dude, you suck. Dude, you should quit. You should fucking kill yourself. I don't want to hear any negative, indifferent, or positive feedback. I just want them to look at it. I just want them to listen to it.
The studio, is that a joy? It can be. Certainly when you're getting when a song starts to really come together in the studio. Touring, is that a joy? No, it's awful. And you row and fall out all the time.
A good friend of mine who is, he's got like 2 million subscribers now, but at the time he had 10,000. He gave me a small shout out on his channel, so I started off with like almost 1,000 subscribers. Like after the first month, I uploaded my one album and lots of covers, lots of weird stuff. But I had a small following that really enjoyed my work, and I kept going. I kept doing more covers. I started to try to jump on the hype trains. Like you remember that video, The Fox? With Ylvis. That came out, and my buddy, he goes, dude, this song is going viral. Like at the time, it had only been out for like a day, and it already had like 1 million views. He's like, this is gonna go viral. You need to get on this immediately. And I was like, I don't want to. You know, I don't want to be that guy. And he's like, just do it, dude. Trust me. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I did that, and we made a whole video for it. Like, I made the song overnight. We did the video over the course of like 2 days. I edited the whole thing, and we had it up like 3 days after the original was up there. And it got like, I think total it got like 500,000 views. And I ended up getting like 10,000 subscribers from it.
There's times where I really do enjoy mixing, but there's other times, as I'm sure anyone who does it knows, that it can drive you completely crazy, and you're just spending like 6-7 hours trying to tune a kick drum right, or EQ a guitar so it's not eating up the vocal space, and you're just like banging your head against a wall for hours. And sometimes it would be very nice to just have someone to give that to and say, here, you do this while I go off and write more songs.
Like, I can understand why it might be easier to choose to be with the music industry, because, you know, they like you, they like your talent, they sign you, they do all the heavy lifting for you. All you got to do is make the art. But you, like I said, there's less control. You have to make it a certain way.
It's lovely to be recognized by your audience. You know, we used to get like Japanese kids would travel all the way from Japan to come and see you playing. The fans was the best thing about it, really, I have to say. And also the thrill of hearing your song on the radio.
I think with fan interaction, with social media, it is certainly easier for people to contact you and for you to talk to them. And it's a lot more convenient too, rather than always having to meet somebody in person. But then I think there also is a major difference between doing it yourself and being a musician going the traditional route with the music industry, because there was a saying I heard that people do not revere that which they become accustomed to. And that sat in my head for a little bit, and I started thinking about that, and it's true. The musicians that I've watched who express the we're all family, friends and family are fans, and so on and so forth, or fans are family, they don't get very far, because the people who support music, there are a large portion of them who want to know the artist and be familiar with them. But then there's a certain majority of people who, if they become familiar with an artist on a personal level, they stop caring about them.
I mean, if you look at a band like the Arctic Monkeys, who were really the first people who used social media to become overground, if you like, that must have been really exciting for them, watching a localized fan base grow.
I think it's a different kind of fandom, certainly, because there's a much more direct line of communication. Because, like with a much smaller audience, you can do that. You can spend the time to reply to most tweets that you get from fans.
When you are quote unquote celebrity. Like, it doesn't matter if you've got millions and billions of fans or just a couple thousand. When people look up to you and see, they like what you're doing and they treat you as such, like they put you up on a pedestal. They start to dehumanize you. They forget that you are a human being with feelings and emotions, and they just think you're like a machine. They think you're like a toy. And so when you do things like cut your hair, or say you started, gaining or losing weight, say you had a mustache all the time and you shaved it off because you wanted to, they got mad. They get so upset with you. I remember at one point I shaved my head bald and people were legit like raging at me.
People talk to you a couple times and they either become familiar with you, and then the hype of being a fan wears off, and then they don't care for what you're doing, or they take the route like what you said, where, oh, we've talked a couple times, so now I'm your manager.
But I don't know. I would like to think my fans are that passionate, but I don't know. I enjoy having a small audience that I can interact with by myself without like mediators and all that. So
I got so overwhelmed and so fed up with everybody's bullshit that I literally deleted my channel like 500 subscribers before it hit 50,000. And I had a Facebook group and I was like, listen, I'm going to be back one day. This is going to be the name of my new band. You can find me when you look this up. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I can't do this. I'm too sensitive. I'm too emotional. I wear my heart on my sleeve.
If you look at people like Trent Reznor or Maynard James Keenan, those guys are not easily accessible, and they're viewed as gods in the music industry. But then you wonder, could that be successful in today's era, with how everything has changed, or are they products of a certain year span? I don't know.
At one point, I think I had like 4 albums out all at once, and I started looking at the numbers, and I was like, okay, like my covers are getting like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 views. My originals are getting like 100 views, 200 views. I think the biggest one had like 10,000, and I like was crying at the end of the performance because I put so much emotion into it.
I cast a gun and watched it glide through my fingers like caterpillars tremoring outside the comforts of their chrysalis. Such metamorphosis took place here tonight.
And I'm like, people aren't even giving it a chance. Like, it's not that they don't like it, it's that they don't even know it exists.
So long as people are listening to the music, that's what I care most about.
You get those people who are like, oh, just, fuck the haters. Just ignore them. Just ignore them. Don't worry about them. Just ignore them. Man, don't let it bother you. But the truth is that if you, as a fan, were to try to create something and do this, and all of a sudden you've got 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 people who are a fan of you, and they're all just shouting things at you, you'd understand that it is not that easy to just ignore it. Like, it hits you, and it doesn't just deflect, it absorbs into you, and that has to come back out, whether it be through music or just all of a sudden you just fucking snap. Like, that direct connection makes it so much more difficult to try to push yourself out there.
A lot of the people I've known in the music industry, they have fans who are great people who support them, and some of them you meet and they do become your friends and your fans because they can separate the two. Similar to myself and Hungry Lights. He's one of the few people who actually know who I am, but he and I are both able to separate between ourselves, our musical paths and our personal paths.
I wanted a special relationship with every single person. I didn't want them to just be numbers and statistics. I wanted to put souls and faces to the names of these people who appreciate what I'm doing. Like, I got to the point where I would respond to YouTube comments so that when I would recognize almost everyone. I've got a Facebook group right now with 1,000 people in it, and I know I'd say at least 300 of those people. You know, a lot of them, they have weird foreign names that I can't pronounce, and they change their pictures all the time, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. And then they're like, you know, we had this conversation about this and this, and I'm like, holy, I remember you now. You were the guy. You had a car. You had a car for your picture. I thought you were a Transformer. What happened?
I get tripped up on the genre thing because there's so many genres out there now. You know, it used to be rock. It makes me sound old, but it used to be rock, metal, you know, punk, and alternative. But now you got 30 different styles of metal and 85 different styles of rock. But I'd probably classify myself more of hard rock, possibly new metal.
A lot of people, they you know, ask, you know, like why I do things the way I do or like this type of music. And I always think it's really funny because when I grew up, I was raised on like rap.
Yeah, I listen to a whole variety of music. I've listened to country music.
I'd be singing along in the car and be like, you know, like sipping on gin and juice. And she's just like, my 6-year-old son is singing about smoking weed and getting drunk.
Corn.
People, they look at me and just think I'm like a white boy. And sometimes I get offended because I'm like, no, like I'm mostly black. You cannot tell at all, but I am. So it's like, I do enjoy, you know, that culture. I do listen to a lot of reggae and rap music as well.
Seven Dust.
Fuel.
Metal or older rock, more melodic rock or 2000 era.
Mariah Carey, Christina Aguilera.
Trent Reznor is an influence. Tool. I like Tool because of their artistic writing. They write differently than anybody else. They found a way to take an odd time signature and make it flow like a 4/4 time signature. So that's incredibly unique. But yeah, I sample from a whole arrangement of artists.
Fucking Dragon Force! Fucking Avantasia and Stratovarius. Like, I just want to be like...
Breaking Benjamin, Disturbed, and Godsmack. A lot of people say I sound like Godsmack. That was never intentional.
Death metal, like, I don't even know how to pronounce the names, like fucking Crazy On and like Whitechapel and just like all that. And I was just like, oh. And like now I listen to it and I'm just like, how did I listen to this? Like, this is just a wall of sound, like in my headphones, just like, and the guitar's just like, I was like, I can't listen to this, but it still influenced me. So I'm like making an album and I'm just like, I need to have a part in the song where I just go. So I did that. And it's just like, it sounds like like I'm getting chased by like a dog while someone's shooting at me with like a fucking automatic weapon. You know what I mean? Like he's just behind me. And I'm just running for my life.
Whenever I listen to music, I always want to feel a connection. And I wanted to do the exact same thing with Scream Therapy. Whenever people listen to my music, I want them, you know, in their own way or for a brief moment of time, feel like they can feel what it was that I felt whenever I wrote that song, whichever song it may be. Because if I hear a song and it doesn't connect with me, then it falls flat. But if I hear a song and it really resonates and it's impactful, then that's the song you put on repeat, you know.
I remember I put on the Rise Against album, and the first song that came on was called State of the Union, and it just starts off like crazy, and the guy just starts screaming. And I remember like I was listening to it and I was like, what is this? Like, I was scared. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I was terrified of this like heavy screaming music. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take this CD out, and I put the other CD in, and first song on the Element 80 CD, dun dun dun, you say goodbye. I was just like, oh, took that out. And I remember my dad's like, you like the albums that I got you? And I was like, yes, yeah, they're great. And then I went home and I threw them out because I didn't know like what screaming and like metal music were. So I was just like, okay, this is scary. Like, I don't think I should listen. There's swearing in the music too. Like, I can't listen to this. This is bad.
With Scream Therapy, I spent a lot of time focusing on the lyrics because I didn't want to write something that was just words put to music. You know, that's not going to get very far. Which I guess there are songs that are like that, which have really topped Billboard. Go those songs, I guess. But I wanted to write something that meant something that was real, something that I went through. And whenever people listen to it, if they take away anything, whether they like it or not, that's up to them. But I just hope that for a brief moment in time, they can sort of have a window of what it was like whenever I wrote that song. I've never publicly come out to say, but I think it's fitting on here. Stenosis is a medical term that is a narrowing of the body canal, like artery or what have you. And I went through an injury years ago, which resulted in spinal stenosis. And it was horrible. Pain was ridiculous, and I was on pills for years and just doped out of my mind all the time. And that's where I guess you could say, gathered my focus. When you're put in a world of hell like that, it really makes things come to light a little differently. So I picked stenosis, the name stenosis, to reflect on the darkest part of my life and in a way embrace that and have a representation for what it is that I do with my life as opposed to what it was that at the time was destroying it.
Forget your name. Be a disgrace. Live from the grave.
I had a herniated disc in my back I got shot in the back with a taser. And it messed up my back, and it was crushing my spinal cord. And so that caused a hell of a lot of pain called sciatica, pain in my leg as opposed to my back. So it was really hard to take that pain away because, you know, pain medicine is supposed to take pain away from an injury, but it wasn't an injury that hurt. My back was hurt. My back was injured, but it was my leg that was hurting because of it pinching off my spinal cord. And I was paralyzed for a month. I walked with a cane for a year and a half. I since got surgery. That also crazy, but yeah, you know, and there are a lot of people who've told me they hear darkness in Scream Therapy. That was also the reason for the title Scream Therapy, is whenever you're going through pain like that, all you can really do is just scream inside your head, otherwise you get a noise complaint. But you know, you can't sleep at night. You just lay there and sweat and hurt. That's it. And it sucked. And that's where the darkness really came from Scream Therapy, from relationship issues at the time to my brother also died around the same time, and then my stepdad died. You know, it's just a lot of hell. And so I called it Scream Therapy and called it stenosis because I figured what better way to move on with the future of what I want to do than really kind of be as personal as I can with it. And then I wear a mask and hide who I am, isn't
About time the stars align, shotgun blast from the past on the edge of a new world. Never on that switch, roll it